Hey, what's up, everyone? Israel just started striking Iran like 10 minutes ago. Now, we had some news from yesterday that something was happening in the Middle East, and I'll be completely honest, I didn't think there were gonna be strikes because, yeah, I was not expecting it. I thought it was more of a bluff to get Iran to agree to during the nuclear talks that are supposed to happen this Sunday. So, Steve Witkoff is meeting with the Iranian delegation for like, I think the sixth meeting on the Sunday. And US has given Iran their proposal. So US has told them that, hey, this is what we want for Iran. And one of the big talking point is Trump doesn't want Iran to have nuclear weapons, but he has hinted that he's happy with Iran having a nuclear program that they can use it for civilian purposes, for energy generation, and whatever you use nuclear for. I don't exactly know. And a lot of stuff was happening yesterday. Yesterday, we saw that, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. The US Department announced that they'll be closing down the embassy in Iraq, and they are reducing capacity in embassies all around Middle East and even bases. So it wasn't forced evacuation for bases around Middle East. What we basically told that anyone who wants to leave the bases, especially the families of the soldiers who are in the Middle East, they can leave now. That's what we recommended. It was a volunteer evacuation, if I'm not incorrect. 10 minutes ago, as you guys can see, it's 8:11. So roughly 7 minutes ago, the strike started, and we can see some smoke. I'll pull up more. And yeah, let's see where this heads. Now, couple of things. I do want to pull something up. Iran's nuclear facilities are not located near civilian areas, and they're deep underground, and they're away. They're in like mountainous regions. Yeah, strikes. I think Iran is carrying it out. Now, this morning we did, so Dentino asked who's carrying out the strikes. I think Israel, again, this happened like less than 10 minutes ago, so we're still learning what's happening. Hopefully, there was some speculation this morning that the US was going to help with refueling aircrafts and logistics if Israel carries out the strike. Again, definitely we are not condoning, I guess we are supporting the strike. This is the video after the strike right here. From the looks of it, this looks like a very populated area. And if we look at the Iranian maps of the nuclear stuff, it's not really in populated area. It's away from like civilian population. So I doubt this was a strike on Iranian nuclear facilities. It could just be a warning. Hey, if on Sunday you don't agree to a deal, something that could be coming. But again, we're still learning information. So it is in the capital of Tehran. State of emergency declared across Israel as country braces for Iranian response. Again, Iran has ballistic missiles. On top of that, Iran is not Houthis, Hezbollah. They are a lot stronger military power. And Iran has been very vocal about they'll strike back hard. Just this morning, they said that US and Israel will be shocked by Iranian response if they do decide to strike Iran. Now, we don't actually know if US was involved, but if I were to guess, I doubt at the very least US knew about the strikes. Probably more information than that. There were some rumors that US was willing to help with refueling aircrafts, whatever those tankers are in the sky. And they were also willing to help with logistics. US was not willing to go in and carry out the strike themselves. But yeah, thinking meant, so Iran does have air defenses. They have Russian air defenses. So I think S-200, S-300s, S-400s. But those air defenses are not the best, to say the least. Especially last year, we saw after the August attack, if I'm remembering correctly, the F-35s, those are the fifth generation jets. They were able to go into Iran, basically fly with impunity, destroy multiple targets. That mission that Israel carried out last year was more of a message. It was like, hey, we can come in, destroy stuff. But I think this was probably bigger than a message. Let me see if I can find more information. I think we were involved in some way. I doubt Israel is gonna carry out something this big without US involvement. And the main reason I say that is because last time when Iran launched the ballistic missiles, a lot of Western partners actually helped protect Israel. Of course, Israel has the Iron Dome, but it's not as strong against ballistic missiles. They have other systems too, I think Arrow and something else that helps protect against ballistic missiles. But even then, Iran has a lot of ballistic missiles. Iran is a lot stronger military power than Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, probably all of them combined. So Israel definitely needs a lot more support if they were to do something like this. So this came out 3 hours ago, and access is pretty good, but again, last night before I went to sleep, I saw a New York Times report too that Israel was ready to strike. Israel strikes Iran, explosions in Tehran. They updated it. But 3 hours ago, Axios was saying that the strike is coming. But then again, everyone's been saying strike is coming for a long time. If you guys remember, just a few weeks ago, we had over, I think, 11 or 6 B2s in Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. And everyone was saying strike could come any day. Strike could come any day. But looking back with hindsight, we know that was more of like a bluff, or more of like a pressure tactic, I guess, not a bluff. It was basically, hey, Iran, if you don't come to the negotiating table, these planes are going to come in and destroy your facilities. And from what I researched back then, their facilities are very deep. I don't know the exact math, but I think they are very deep that only B2s can reach that deep. B2s have the capacity to carry, I think, 2 tons of bomb or something. And those are the only planes that could reach that deep. And if we just look at these, if you look at these footage, it doesn't seem like they're really targeting nuclear facilities. But then again, it could be like this is a setup for a bigger strike. They're probably targeting some air bases or some air defenses so they can go into the nuclear facilities and destroy them. Ooh, okay. So, you know what we were talking about? That if US was involved or not? We just got some news from Israeli media. Operation in Iran is in coordination with the United States, says Israeli media. Another thing that's important about Israeli media. No, I don't think B2s are in use yet. Israel doesn't have it. Unless US sent in their own bombers, that would be a pretty big deal. That would be getting us closer to a war, I think. I don't know. That's definitely would be a big deal. And I think this thing is, especially like the strikes in Iran, even people in the administration don't really agree with it. In fact, just a few days ago, what's the word? I'm forgetting her name. Damn. Who was, let me ask my friend. Who was the one just a few days ago? She put out a video saying that the nuclear war is like really devastating. She recently visited Japan. I'm blanking on her name. Yeah, Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah, she just put out a video a few days ago, and a lot of people thought that was relating to Russia, Ukraine. But now that we know what's going on, I think that was relating to this stuff. Okay, I found the video. Let's watch that.
I recently visited Hiroshima in Japan and stood at the epicenter of a city that remains scarred by the unimaginable horror caused by a single nuclear bomb dropped in 19...
Wait, hold on. Quick pause. We have Mac in the chat. He says he's in Israel right now, and there were sirens going off 30 minutes ago all across the country. So maybe the Iranian stuff is back. The Iranian retaliation is already happening.
1945, 80 years ago. It's hard for me to find the words to express what I saw, the stories that I heard, the haunting sadness that still remains. This is an experience that will stay with me forever. This attack obliterated the city, killed over 300,000 people, many dying instantly while others died from severe burns, injuries, radiation sickness, and cancer that set in the following months and years. Nagasaki suffered the same fate. Homes, schools, families, all gone in a flash. The survivors, the Hibakusha, they carried the pain of extreme burns, radiation sickness, and loss for decades. Survivors of this attack were asked to put in paintings and drawings their own memories and how they felt and what they saw, and those paintings...
Oh, we just got confirmation from Israel. They were targeting nuclear facilities right here. Israel Defense Forces have officially confirmed the commencement of Operation Strength of the Lion, a full-scale military campaign targeting Iran's nuclear program and long-range missile infrastructure. Current strikes are concentrated on critical nuclear facilities, military installations, command and control centers, high-ranking military leadership. The operation is designed to degrade Iran's strategic capabilities and neutralize its ability to develop and deploy nuclear weapons. Israeli airspace has been closed to civilian traffic as an additional preemptive security measures are enacted across the region. The operation is projected to continue over the coming days and is explicitly aimed at dismantling Iran's nuclear program. what Israeli officials have defined as imminent and existential threat. Wow, so it's expected to continue. That would be dangerous for sure if they know it's coming. 3 or 4 locations were targeted in the strike. We have more footage. We'll switch to live streams in just a second. Yep, Alexander, they striked Iran. We have a couple more footage we watched. This is a new footage that we haven't seen yet, so we'll watch it right now. Yeah, bunker busters. I wonder if I think all our B2s are back in Missouri, so I don't think they're at Diego Garcia. I could be wrong, but I remember 2 weeks ago we had a report saying that all the B2s that were moved to Diego Garcia have been brought back. From the looks of it, this looks like Tehran, the capital city. Again, the nuclear facilities are all over the country. Iran knows that nuclear facilities are a target. I think Israel has done this in Syria and Iraq when Saddam was there. So Israel has a habit of going after nuclear facilities, and rightly so. Everyone wants to destroy Israel. So Iran knows, and that's why they spread it out. If you guys see here, they're all across the country, and on top of that, oh, this is going to affect the oil prices too. But let's watch some live stream from Fox.
Politically in Lebanon. Then we have the fall of the Assad regime in Syria that has largely curtailed the different militias that were operating between Iraq and Syria. That was another thing that was taken out. The Houthis, still very potent, attacking Israel, firing missiles at Israel almost every day. But they also have signed their own deals with the United States. So to some extent, the threat of an entire Middle East going up in flames as a result of this current action right now has to some extent been mitigated. I will say also, as the day went on and there was more and more indications that something may happen.
Wait, how does this suck for Ukraine, Ryan? I know a lot of people complained when we rerouted a lot of anti-drone missiles to Middle East. But at the end of the day, I'm very pro-Ukraine if you have seen the channel. But US still has the responsibility to protect US citizens before Ukrainian citizens, and we knew what was coming. Looking back, I think the government knew probably like almost a week ago that Israel was going to strike. And last time when we took out Qasem Soleimani, Iran retaliated by targeting US bases in the Middle East. So we have to look out for the US soldiers we have in the bases, and that's why, to protect against Shahed drones, that's why all those anti-drone missiles were transferred to Middle East, even though we did promise Ukraine just a tough situation right now, and hard decisions need to be made.
When he was asked about the negotiations between Israel and Hamas, he sort of threw out a bombshell and said that the sides are negotiating and Iran's also involved. Iran's not supposed to be involved in those negotiations and never has been involved. So if that is true, then that also means that Iran is not only active militarily, but is also now a party to some extent to the negotiations between the sides. So all that is where we've ended up now.
All right, Lone, Austin, let's get the viewers up to speed. We're at the bottom of the hour here as we are getting these reports in from both Israeli sources, Iranian sources, and the Associated Press that Israel has launched a preemptive strike or strikes on...
We know so far it's 4 strikes, 4 different locations.
We also have these live vantage points there. This one is over Jerusalem. We also have another one over Jerusalem as well. And this one we have is over Tel Aviv at the moment. So according to the Associated Press, with a dateline in Dubai, that explosions rang out across Iran's capital as Israel claimed it was attacking the country. People in Tehran awoke to the sound of the blast, according to state TV in Iran. We're hearing from Israel's defense minister, his name, Israel Katz, announcing a quote-unquote special situation in Israel over Israel attacking Iran. There, to your point, Austin Westfall, there was no immediate word.
Oh, we know what locations have been targeted actually on the map, so let's look at that real quick. So explosions reported in Nanzan. This is right here, if you guys see. This is a nuclear facility, and Fordov. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, but it's right here. So they are quite far from Tehran, but the nuclear facilities were targeted. Another thing, Israel did promise, where is that? Israel did promise the operation will continue for next few days. What that means, we don't know. I doubt it's going to be easy after the first strike. It's going to be easy to keep going in, but Israel promised it will continue.
Did here. What does that mean? What does that foretell for the wider conflict, that Israel took matters into their own hands and went this alone?
So, sorry, I'm seeing those updates also in Al Jazeera and in Reuters. They're reporting exactly that. They're reporting that sources in the United States are saying that they are not involved in the actual attacks. Now, that's an important wording. They're not saying that they were not informed in advance. They're not saying that they are not providing some sort of perimeter defense. They're not involved in Israel's attacks themselves.
Now the question here that matters is, do you guys think Iran will believe this? I doubt Iran's going to believe it.
For example, Iran the first time launched cruise missiles and drones that took hours to get to Israel. Israel and the United States all participated in shooting down those projectiles, but there were lots of other countries, Jordan, even Qatar, the UAE, that all said, we're not actively shooting down any Iranian projectiles. We're not involved in this. But later it came out that what they were doing was providing aerial support. They were providing radar support. They were providing all kinds of things. So similarly, the United States is not saying that we know nothing about this. And I would imagine that if this came as a complete surprise to the United States, we would possibly see U.S. President Trump quite enraged at this point and putting out his own messages about stopping this. We've seen him get angry, Putin and Ukraine, and he's very capable of immediately putting out saying stop. The fact that this is a very, very sort of tempered response saying we're not involved tells me, likely at least, the United States knew that this attack was going to happen. That doesn't mean that they supported it. Throughout the day, the U.S. has repeatedly said that they do not want attacks on Iran until the negotiations have maxed themselves out.
Oh yeah, by the way, Trump said today that he would prefer to have this dealt with in like negotiations. He did not want to strike Iran. This was today. Give me one second if I can find the clip.
Across all of Iran to destroy all nuclear facilities. We're only hearing thus far of an attack that happened in Tehran. That doesn't mean we're not going to hear more. We're just in the initial half an hour of this. But there is some indication here that possibly, just possibly, the United States still wants to come in as a mediator. Very, very possibly, the United States is in touch right now with its proxies throughout the Middle East to tell them to talk to Iran, or possibly even direct talks with Iran, to tell them we can stop Israel. There's an attack in Tehran right now. We can stop Israel. You have to tell us you're going to come to us. Again, that's all speculation on my part. But the fact the United States is not...
Oh, we have more footage. And apparently, houses of military leaders were attacked in Israel. So, not in Israel, in Iran. My bad.
نزدیک پادگان قلمرویه. پادگان قلمرویه اینجا.
Then we also have news about, where is this? All right, the homes of top political and military officials in Iran were targeted during tonight's strike by Israel against the Iranian capital of Tehran. Nikunj, it just happened like 20 minutes ago. Like it happened 5 minutes before we started this live. Yeah, that's why probably no news, but we have news. We have even Bloomberg, very respectable publication following it. Israel conducts strikes in Iran in major escalation. But
across Iran, I am surprised that on the one hand, we have seen this going off.
Ooh,
on the other,
by the way, an interesting data point that everyone should pay attention to is roughly on April 12th, President Trump gave Iran 60 days, 2 months to come to a nuclear deal, basically agree to a nuclear deal. Today is the 68th day, June 12th. So that's the thing. I know US said that US wasn't involved in the strike. That doesn't mean they didn't know about it. So I'm 100% US probably knew about the strike because Israel's just not going to do it without future like heads up. But is Iran going to believe the US statement that US wasn't involved? Let me see if I can find the tweet right here. I got it. So I made this video last night, but Trump gave Iran 60 days from the first round of talks. The ultimatum was on April 12th. Today is June 12th. And we have strikes today.
Far too big for him to take at this point is my guess.
So Alon, we are looking at, and we have been looking at images of Tel Aviv, the skyline in Tel Aviv. You and I have been on the air several times before where Iran has launched missiles toward Israel. And we were keeping a look on images like this because we were waiting to see if we would see any sort of ammunition or artillery come through and impact perhaps the Iron Dome. I need to make something clear to the audience. This is Israel launching preemptive strikes against Iran. So we're not expecting to see any activity on any of these live cameras that are in Tel Aviv or any of the cameras in Jerusalem. One of the reasons why I like talking to Alon during these breaking news times, by the way, is because he does research and he does read the news reports as they're coming out, whether it's sites that are in Hebrew, whether it's sites that are in Arabic. A lot of times, Alon, we're covering things here from the States, and we can only rely on sometimes English translations of some of the reports that are coming out of the region. Where are you watching right now to see how Iran responds to this? What media channels are you watching? And in what medium do they tend to respond? Are we expecting some sort of statement from Tehran? How do we usually end up hearing from them in the initial moments of something like this?
So I'll say a couple of things about that. First of all, I just want to say that right now there is an image coming out, which is an interesting image of a building that has been attacked in Tehran.
This is the image he's talking about.
I'm seeing, to address your question, in Israel's official state news. There are video footages that have been from local people in Iran showing a building on fire, and it says that there are reports that in Israel's attacks, there were also attacks against the houses of senior political and military figures in Iran. That is a very, very interesting report, if that is true. If that is true, then that means that this attack is not just targeting nuclear facilities, but it is also targeting senior politicians and senior military figures in Iran.
And nuclear scientists. Israel just confirmed that they're targeting nuclear scientists too.
X, whatever it's called today. And I look at different things I follow are Israeli state media and Iranian media and Al Jazeera and international sort of Middle East media reports. Most of the things, though, that first come out are reports on the ground. So, for example, again, I'm going to try to actually show this. This is a picture of a building that is on fire.
I'll just pull up the picture. This is the picture he's talking about.
ساعت الان 3:37 دقیقه ورودی فرحزاده پایین یه ساختمون
image that was uploaded right now. When you follow news that is breaking like this all the time, you have to distinguish between the official statements. I don't expect to see any official meaningful statement from Iran at this point. Iran at this point, the most it could say, because their sort of national pride has also been hurt with this attack, the most they could say is, we will retaliate as we see fit. Israel has violated international law, etc. It's not going to tell us anything. The more important state publications that I'm looking at actually are in Israel, because Israeli publications right now, Israel knows what it's planning. So, for example, the fact that sirens...
Because, again, Jordan, these are nuclear scientists. That's why I don't think... I don't know the exact definition of war crime. That's something Ryan Macbeth could break it down better than me. But I don't think targeting nuclear scientists is war crime.
Then, state media in Israel put out... the IDF in Israel.
By the way, before people forget, Iran was targeting Trump during the election season. So just a year ago, Iran was trying to assassinate Trump on U.S. soil. And their national or their foreign policy is just two phrases. Death to America, death to Israel. Definitely not a good country and good regime, I guess.
Suggestion that maybe Israel's not planning a full-on escalation at this point. But it wanted people to be alert of that. Iran doesn't know what Israel's planning necessarily. So from Iran, I expect more generic things at this point.
So, Alon, I just want to reiterate, because the reporting is somewhat sounder now than when we first came on the air with this we were questioning what Israel was targeting, what they were striking. The Associated Press with the Dateline and
We have Israel launched the first wave of 15 airstrike against Iranian air defenses and is likely only preparing a larger strike against the country's nuclear facility. So this is something Israel confirmed too. I don't know if I can actually find it because we've been through so many chats. Right here. Israel confirmed that this will continue for next few days, and it kind of makes sense because first they had to go and set up for the strikes against the nuclear facilities because even though Iran is a weaker military power than Israel, they still have the nuclear facilities very well defended. So first round was just going in, probably striking the top officials and also striking all the radars, all the air defenses. And next round is likely going to be against nuclear facilities. Or it could be some kind of decoy.
Good evening, everyone. We have breaking news out of Iran at this moment. We're interrupting your regular scheduled programming because ABC News has learned that Israel has launched an attack on Iran, likely targeting Iran's nuclear sites. Tensions have been mounting in the region for several days. President Trump told reporters today that it could happen at any time. We want to go.
By nuclear facilities, we really mean like the facilities they're using where they store their centrifuges, where they enrich uranium. For a few years, everyone's been saying Iran is only 14 days away from nuclear bomb. What that really means is like if they really wanted a bomb, they could get it in 14 days. Doesn't mean in the next 14 days they will have a bomb. It's just if they decide to get it, next 14 days they could have it.
Go now to Selena Wang, who has the latest from the White House. Selena, what can you tell us?
Well, Lindsay, earlier today, I had asked President Trump about how imminent this Israeli strike on Iran's nuclear facility could be, and the president had told me that this could very well happen, adding that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, telling me that the U.S. would help Iran be successful in any other way, even trading with the country. Now, this comes as President Trump in his second term has repeatedly stressed that Iran cannot be developing a nuclear weapon, that it cannot have a nuclear weapon. This comes as his envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, is actually heading to Oman on Sunday. He's scheduled to have another round of nuclear talks between the U.S. and Iran. There have been several rounds so far, Lindsay, of nuclear talks, and the president has repeatedly said that he's confident that the U.S. and Iran are getting close to a deal. But just this week, the president said that he was becoming less confident. He also told me today that if there is a strike from Israel on Iran's nuclear facilities, he was concerned that this could derail their negotiations.
I was going to ask you, Selena, what could this escalation mean potentially for those peace talks?
Well, again, the president, he had actually asked Netanyahu, he said last month, not to launch this sort of strike, worried that this could harm the ongoing U.S.-Iran negotiations. The president today saying that he believes this could, quote, blow up those negotiations. Now, this also comes, though, as the U.S. has already ordered some non-essential staff to leave Iraq, and also as the administration has also authorized family members of military members to leave if they want to voluntarily leave across the Middle East. The president saying that it could become a very dangerous place, and he wanted to make sure that Americans would be safe.
This is what Trump said just this morning. First of all, he tweeted about it. Where can I put this? We remain committed to a diplomatic resolution to Iran nuclear issue. My entire administration has been directed to negotiate with Iran. They could be a great country, but they first must completely give up hopes of obtaining a nuclear weapon. Thank you for your attention. And then he also had a Q&A, I guess, press conference, and he was asked about this. This is what he said.
Mr. President, how imminent is an Israeli strike on Iran?
Well, I don't want to say imminent, but it looks like it's something that could very well happen. Look, it's very simple, not complicated. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Other than that, I want them to be successful. I want them to be tremendous. We'll help them be successful. We'll trade with them. We'll do whatever is necessary. You know, I stopped a war between India and Pakistan. And I stopped it with trade. I don't think I've ever seen a story written about it, but it was pretty cool. They were getting ready. Pakistan was their turn to hit, and eventually they're going to go nuclear. And I stopped it. I called each. I respect each leader greatly. I know them. And I spoke to them, and I talked about trade. I said, but you're not trading with us if you're going to go to war, if you're going to start throwing nuclear weapons around. And I said it to both of them, and they were both unbelievable, actually. They understood it exactly. They stopped. I stopped that war with phone calls and trade. And India's here right now negotiating a trade deal, and Pakistan's coming, I think, next week. And I'm very proud of that. Nobody died. Nobody, the nuclear weapons, they each have very severe, very substantial numbers of nuclear weapons. And I think we should get some credit for that.
Does Iran have a nuclear weapon? Well, that's the news. Iran was enriching uranium, so they could have it anytime. Now, we do know Israel carried out multiple strikes against the facilities. That doesn't really mean that the nuclear program is gone, because Iran is very smart. They have their program pretty well spread out across the country, and they have multiple different nuclear enrichment facilities. So, unless Israel took out all of them, this doesn't mean the nuclear program is over. By the way, we have almost 2,700 people. If you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so down below. It really does help us out. Subscribe. What percentage of enrichment we know? Nikon, we don't know the exact percentage. I think 92, 94. I'm not exactly sure. Wouldn't consider myself an expert, but we've been hearing for a while now that if Iran wanted a nuclear weapon, they could achieve it in 14 days. What that really means is if they make the decision that, hey, we want a nuclear weapon, they could probably make few, maybe 2, maybe 5 in just 14 days. But let's watch the live stream.
Iran is involved in countries like Argentina and Paraguay. Wherever there is a Shiite population, Iran tries to get involved. Doesn't always succeed, but it tries. What is the threat in terms of Iran getting nuclear capabilities? First of all, Iran has threatened to annihilate Israel, and it has threatened also other countries in the Middle East, chief among them being Saudi Arabia. Iran and Saudi Arabia are very big rivals when it comes to leadership in the Islamic world and leadership in the Middle East. But more importantly, a country tries to get nuclear weapons very often as an insurance policy. Once you have nuclear weapons, it is a lot harder to mess with you. It's a lot harder to launch attacks against you. And if you have interests that are constantly spreading out more and more, see this with China's economic interests, we see this between Pakistan and India. If you have interests that are constantly spreading out more and more and more.
Oh, wow. Okay, hold on. We already have news that Iran is retaliating. Initial reports of missile launches by Iran. By the way, Iran has ballistic missiles. Now, Israel did get a lot of those air defenses the US has. I'm forgetting the name. The new ones, not the Patriot missiles. The new ones that are way more successful against ballistic missiles. And Israel has 2 of them now. One they got under President Biden, one they had from before. But even then, ballistic missiles, Israel definitely has a hard time stopping all of them. Iron Dome is a lot more successful against these rockets and missiles that Hamas has, but Iran is a lot stronger military power than Hamas, Hezbollah, or even Houthis. So that's why Israel definitely needs help from other countries if they wanna protect against any retaliation that Iran has. THAAD, yeah, thank you, Garage. Over the garage, yeah, they got 2 THAADs. I think they have 2, which comes with U.S. personnel. So I think we have 10, 20 U.S. military personnel operating that air defense in Israel.
Preemptive, precise, combined offensive.
No, Gary, they don't need help to strike inside Iran, but to fight against retaliation. Iran probably has like few hundred ballistic missiles, and they come in really fast. So Israel definitely is going to need help to just take down the ballistic missiles if that's what Iran launched.
Ever to obtaining a nuclear weapon. Weapons of mass destruction in the hands of the Iranian regime are an existential threat to the state of Israel and to the wider world. The state of Israel has no choice but to fulfill the obligation to act in defense of its citizens and will continue to do so everywhere it is required to do so, as we have done in the past. So, confirming there from the IDF, this is what they call, alone in Austin, the first stage. They said this included strikes on dozens of military targets, and then with the conditional caveat including nuclear targets. So both military targets, nuclear targets, not just in...
Yeah, we have a lot of people joining in. By the way, just a quick recap if you're just joining in. Roughly 30 minutes ago, maybe 40 minutes ago, Israel launched preemptive strikes against Iran. The goal is to go after the nuclear facilities, but they are definitely defended. So Israel is saying this operation is going to continue for next few days. That operation is named Operation Strength of Lion. And I'm guessing, again, we don't know the exact details. The first round, Israel is targeting air defenses, radars, and even the high-level officials in the military, in the political regime that Iran has, and even nuclear scientists. Now, in the next few days, or whenever Israel starts to go ahead with the second round, they'll probably target more nuclear facilities. But Israel did hit some nuclear facilities. As you guys can see, Iran knows that the world doesn't want Iran to have nuclear weapons. So they have spread out their nuclear facilities all across the country. So according to the reports we have had right now, Israel has targeted Natanz, if I'm saying that correctly, right here, and Fordow. Now we also have some clips of Israel attacking Tehran. Now this could be just targeting officials, this could be targeting the heads of the military or something like that. Someone in the chat did tell me, I'm forgetting the name, but someone said, I think it was the general. Yeah. Reports say that the Iranian military chief of staff has been killed in this strike. We don't know. This is from the chat. Hopefully we get more confirmation from other news sites. And thank you so much for anyone who's just joining in. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button if this is your first time.
That happened. So unclear at this point if this was coordinated with the states or a unilateral move. What does seem clear, though, also with that wording, again, I look very closely at the wording of the IDF saying we've completed our first round. That is also giving some sort of international signal that is saying we don't have planes in the air right now necessarily about to bomb out everything else. Maybe they're saying that, but they do have those planes. But that could...
Yeah, we have someone saying in the chat their stock is cooked. Definitely, I think so, because the oil is down 5% already, and I'm sure the oil will slip a lot.
Trump said to Netanyahu, you know what, launch one strike, and then let's see if Iran comes begging to me to stop, and we'll get a good deal. I can see that as a possibility. I can see it possible that Netanyahu said, look, I have no choice. We have to attack right now. Iran has gone past the point of no return as far as we're concerned. And Trump saying, okay, but I don't want World War III. The one thing that Trump is very consistent about, he's unpredictable. He changes his mind all the time. But the one thing he's quite consistent about, whether it is in India and Pakistan, Israel and Hamas, Israel and Iran, Russia and Ukraine, he does not like wars. He does not like when things might spiral out of control. So even if the United States did give its blessing to this, it is possible that...
We have a statement from the Israeli military. Let's listen to that real quick. Wow. Let's listen to it.
For years, the Iranian regime has called for the destruction of the state of Israel, planning and advancing concrete military plans to do so. Over the past few months, intelligence has shown that Iran is closer than ever to obtaining a nuclear weapon. This morning, the IDF began preemptive and precise strikes targeting the Iranian nuclear program in order to prevent the Iranian regime's ability to build a nuclear bomb in the immediate time frame. We have no choice. We are operating against an imminent and existential threat. We cannot allow the Iranian regime to obtain a nuclear weapon that would be a danger to Israel and the entire world. This operation is for our right to exist here, for our future and for our children's future. The State of Israel has the right and the obligation to operate in order to protect its people and will continue to do so. The IDF conducted significant preparations for this operation. We are well prepared, both in defense and offense, to defend ourselves. The IDF will continue to defend the State of Israel.
Yeah, we actually have someone in the chat. Vema, are you in Israel or Iran? Because there are reports of missiles in both places. Now, this is some just news about Iranian jets getting in air. This doesn't mean they're retaliating against Israel using jets. That would be not smart, I would say. Israel has a lot more high-tech air defenses than Iran has. Definitely going to take down Iranian jets. This could be just for protecting the Iranian sky. So from my research from last night, I think Iran has roughly 40 F-14s and 20-something MiG-29s. So not a huge air force, but not something you can just ignore either. Another thing, as we have news that Israel was targeting high-level military officials and political political leaders in Iran, a civilian building was hit and apparently it collapsed. We have another video we saw earlier where some building was on fire. Let's see what news we get. Not the funniest, I guess. I should use my word carefully, but when we were carrying out Operation Rough Riders in Yemen, every time we would like launch strikes and some building to take out some terrorists, we would get like a statement from the Houthis, and they would say, "Oh yeah, this head of this group just died, but he didn't die from the strikes. He just had a heart attack." They would never give US any credit for taking out any leaders. They would always say, "Oh, guy just died from the heart attack," even though he was in the same building as the strike.
Hey, we want to be able to hit, but we don't want to do it in a way that means that they have to hit back. Is that something that goes into the decision-making with something like this alone?
So that's something that we've seen very often throughout the war. You and I have often talked about what we call tacit agreements. That, it's very clear what are the borders of what you're allowed to do and not do, and how far do you go? Like, do you break those tacit agreements or not? Again, Israel's never admitted to this, but it is very well known that Israel has nuclear weapons. Yet,
ooh, this is huge. So the building we just saw, Iranian president lived there. Still unconfirmed. Israeli sources tell me that the Iranian president Pezeshkian apartment has been struck, as well as their chief of general staff. Wow. So we had the general confirm this in the chat a little bit earlier, that the general staff has been killed and the head of the nuclear program. Khomeini targeted, but no result confirmed. Imagine, this would be huge, because very rarely, I guess Trump did kind of break this rule, but even adversarial countries don't have a habit of going after each other's leaders. Trump killed Soleimani, but then again, Iran has been trying to kill Trump for like last 6 years. Ever since Trump took out Soleimani, they tried doing it when he was in office. They tried doing it when he was just, a civilian during the last term. And then they tried doing it during election campaigns. In fact, the Iranian threat was so bad that Trump had to use a fake plane. So there was the Trump plane that everyone thought Trump was using during the election season. But no, he was actually using Steve Witkoff's plane to go to places, go to campaign rallies, and he was using it, like hiding it basically in that plane. The whole staff would fly in Trump plane, and then Trump alone would fly in the Steve Witkoff's plane, because they didn't want to have something happen to him, which is actually insane, because Iran has been, going crazy. Now, this is a little bit historic, but I was just watching the Iraq War documentary, especially the 2003 one. I think when the first George Bush 1 went to Kuwait, Saddam Hussein tried assassinating him. He had a bomb, like a big bomb in some car that George Bush was supposed to take. And a lot of people say that probably played a role in US invading Iraq after 9/11. But we can get back to this.
But if that happened, then that is another indication that Israel is actually targeting the main nuclear facilities and not just targeting facilities in Tehran. But again, that's initial reports that I'm seeing at the moment.
What's so interesting is Israel has targeted Iranian's nuclear program before via cyber methods, covertly. With the, garnering of the entire Iranian nuclear archives some years back. That didn't require kinetic action like we're seeing right now. We do have Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, right now speaking live. Let's listen.
Today, the Jewish state refuses to be a victim of a nuclear holocaust perpetrated by the Iranian regime. Now, as prime minister, I've made it clear time and again, Israel will never allow those who call for our annihilation to develop the means to achieve that goal. Tonight, Israel backs those words with action. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear enrichment program. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear weaponization program. We targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz. We targeted Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb. We also struck at the heart of Iran's ballistic missile program. Last year, Iran fired 300 ballistic missiles at Israel. Each of these missiles carries a ton of explosives and threatens the lives of hundreds of people. Soon, those missiles could carry a nuclear payload, threatening the lives not of hundreds, but of millions. Iran is gearing up to produce 10,000 of those ballistic missiles within 3 years. Now just imagine 10,000 tons of TNT landing on a country the size of New Jersey. This is an intolerable threat. It too must be stopped. Iran is now working on what it calls the new plan to destroy Israel. You see, the old plan failed. Iran and its proxies tried to encircle Israel with a ring of fire and to attack us with the horrible attack of October 7th. But the people of Israel, the soldiers of Israel, rose like lions to defend our country. We crushed Hamas, we devastated Hezbollah, we hit Iranian proxies in Syria and Yemen. And when Iran directly attacked us twice last year, we struck back inside Iran itself. Yet in defending ourselves, we also defend others. We defend our Arab neighbors. They too have suffered from Iran's campaign of chaos and carnage. Our actions against Iran's proxy Hezbollah led to the establishment of a new government in Lebanon and the collapse of Assad's murderous regime in Syria. The peoples of those two countries now have a chance for a different future, a better future. So too do the brave people of Iran, and I have a message for them. Our fight is not with you. Our fight is with the brutal dictatorship that has oppressed you for 46 years. I believe that the day of your liberation is near. And when that happens, the great friendship between our two ancient peoples will flourish once again. I want to assure the civilized world, we will not let the world's most dangerous regime get the world's most dangerous weapons. And Iran plans to give those weapons, nuclear weapons, to its terrorist proxies. That would make the nightmare of nuclear terrorism all too real. The increasing range of Iran's ballistic missiles would bring that nuclear nightmare to the cities of Europe and eventually to America. Remember, Iran calls Israel the small Satan. It calls America the great Satan. And this is why for decades, it's led millions in the chants of death to Israel and death to America. Today, Israel is responding to those genocidal calls with action and with a call of our own. Long live Israel and long live America. Our action will help make the world a much safer place. I want to thank President Trump for his leadership in confronting Iran's nuclear weapons program. He has made clear time and again that Iran cannot have a nuclear enrichment program. Today, it is clear that Iran is just buying for time. It refuses to agree to this basic requirement of peaceful nations. That is why we have no choice but to act, and act now. The hardest decision any leader has to make is to thwart a danger before it is fully materialized. Nearly a century ago, facing the Nazis, a generation of leaders failed to act in time. They were paralyzed by the horrors of World War I. They were determined to avoid war at all costs, and they got the worst war ever. They adopted a policy of appeasement. They closed their eyes and ears to all the warning signs. That failure to act resulted in World War II, the deadliest war in history. It claimed the lives of 60 million, including 6 million Jews, a third of my people. After that war, the Jewish people and the Jewish state vowed never again. Well, never again is now. Today, Israel has shown that we have learned the lessons of history. When enemies vow to destroy you, believe them. When enemies build weapons of mass death, stop them. As the Bible teaches us, when someone comes to kill you, rise and act first. This is exactly what Israel has done today. We have risen like lions to defend ourselves. Over 3,000 years ago, Moses gave the people of Israel a message that has steeled their resolve ever since. Be strong and courageous, he said. Today, our strong and courageous soldiers and people stand together to defend ourselves against those who seek our destruction. And by defending ourselves, we defend many others, and we roll back a murderous tyranny. Generations from now, history will record that our generation stood its ground, acted in time, and secured our common future. May God bless Israel. May God bless the forces of civilization everywhere. Thank you.
That was live,
Israeli
by the
leader
way.
Benjamin Netanyahu with
We have a lot of new people. Be sure to hit the like button. We're trying to get to 1,500 likes. But for everyone who's just joining in, roughly 1 hour ago, Israel started their operation. What is the operation called? It's right here. Bro, whenever I need it, I cannot find it. I think it's Operation Strength of Lion, and the goal is to target Iranian nuclear facilities. As you guys just heard in the stream, in the speech that Prime Minister Netanyahu was giving, they targeted the nuclear facilities. Where are they? They targeted the nuclear facility in Natanz and Fort Dove. Now, on top of that, they also went after top Israeli military officials. We actually have news that they attacked Israeli president. Where is that? I'm trying to find it. Unconfirmed right here. The apartment of President Pezeshkian was struck, and on top of that, this is something someone confirmed in the chat. The chief of staff, the chief of general staff, and the head of the nuclear program was also eliminated. Now, we don't know if the president is eliminated. Only thing we know is the apartment that he lived in was struck. Now, this is not confirmed yet either. Initial reports do show that the retaliation by Iran has already begun. And other thing that I do want to point out, by the way, Iran's nuclear program is spread across the whole country. So it's very unlikely that Israel was able to attack all of them. Now, we do have news that this is a multi-day operation, so it's going to continue over the first few days. Israel also confirmed that the round one is over. So that means no Israeli jets are over Iran right now. But let's see if they're able to attack all the nuclear facilities. If I was a betting man, I don't think they'll be able to attack it. Maybe U.S. can use this strike to negotiate a nuclear deal. Hopefully, maybe this is like a message to Iran that if you don't agree to a nuclear deal, you're not gonna have a nuclear facility and you're gonna be at war. No, it's a commercial break. Let me see if we got any big news. Okay, we do have two news. One of Israeli strikes earlier on the Iranian capital of Tehran reportedly targeted Iran's Chief of General Staff Major Mohammad Bagheri. So no confirmation if he's eliminated, but we know he was targeted. Another thing, residents report hearing explosions in the Iranian city of Isfahan. Okay, whatever these cities are, I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce them, which all houses are located near major military bases, Iranian Armed Forces, or IRGC. Now, we have $5 from Joey Dangerously HD. Do you think it's possible they have facilities that nobody knows about? Yeah, of course, that's probably possible. But the bad part about building something like this is you can see from the satellites when they're moving so much sand or so much earth. It's able to see from the satellites. Maybe some of these are not accurate. Like, we may not know like which one is the uranium mine, which one is like a military site, which one is what. But a lot of the places you can tell there's something underneath, and I'm guessing that's where Israel is going to target. And the second part is Israel has a very extensive spy network. So it doesn't have to be all satellite information that they're getting, because remember, that's how they targeted the Hamas leader. We still don't know how he was killed, but one of the theory is like someone was sitting in some tree, and as soon as he got in his room where the bomb was planted, someone triggered the bomb. So Israel has spies inside Iran. In fact, that's how, I don't remember when, but I think during Obama, Israel was able to smuggle in a virus into the Iranian computers. Roughly 50% of the computers in Iran were infected by that virus, and the virus did not activate until it got to the computer that controlled the centrifuges. And then what it did was basically start spinning the centrifuges that Iran uses to enrich uranium. It just started spinning a little bit faster than it should have. So Iran was not able to detect this for a long time, and slowly the centrifuges just they had a lot more wear and tear than what they should have, and they became useless.
Prevent the Iranian regime's ability to build a nuclear bomb in the immediate time frame. We have no choice.
We have Mark saying Iran's pagers are about to go off.
We cannot allow the Iranian regime to obtain a nuclear weapon that would be a danger to Israel and the entire world. This operation is for our right to exist here, for our future and for our children's future. The State of Israel has the right and the obligation to operate in order to protect its people and will continue to do so. The IDF conducted significant preparations for this operation. We are well prepared, both in defense and offense, to defend ourselves. The IDF will continue to defend the State of Israel.
And that has been the breaking news that we've been...
By the way, the Iranian retaliation is already coming. We actually have footage of the Iranian missiles. Now, the ballistic missiles do travel a lot faster than drones and stuff, but I think they still take like a few minutes to go from Iran to Israel.
الله اکبر خدای شکرت یه دونه دیگه کجاست صدا رو داریم
expecting as they're now speaking out.
So, sorry, there's been a lot of updates in the last like 4 or 5 minutes that that we were on commercial break. The biggest updates that I could say that have come out is there's been a list of prominent Iranian figures that, according to reports on the ground, again, very unofficial, according to reports on the ground, either their homes or their offices have been attacked. This includes Iran's chief of staff, the chief of staff of the military, Mohammad Bakri. According to some reports, he was actually assassinated. That's unconfirmed, but other reports say his house was attacked. The head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, Hussein Salami, also reports that his home and possibly his office were attacked. The head of Iranian's Air Force, the commander of Iranian's Air Force,
That's
Amir
the head
Ali
boss
Hajizadeh,
right here.
also reports that there was an attempt to assassinate him. Again, at this point, those are all reports that there are attempted assassinations of those top Iranian figures. Very, very possibly, that is the reason that we saw this opening volley of Israel's attack in Tehran, rather than seeing it in Natanz or in Isfahan or in Qom or in these other places that have the top Iranian nuclear facilities. We are hearing about some explosions there, but the initial explosions happened in Tehran. Very possibly, Israel wanted the first attack, the first airstrikes, the ones that would catch Iran off guard, to be targeting those top military figures. Again, the only reports that any of these were assassinated are possibly the chief of staff of Iran, Mohammad Bakri, but at this point, again, unconfirmed. It is just reports from different bloggers on the ground.
Okay, we have the full speech from Netanyahu, and we actually have a statement from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Let's look at the statement, then we'll go to that. Tonight, Israel took unilateral action against Iran. Now, US has been saying that US was not involved. Of course, that doesn't mean we didn't know about it, because we did have some warnings. We are not involved in the strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. Well, that kind of confirms it, that we knew ahead of time. President Trump and administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. Let me be clear. Iran should not target US interests or personnel. Now, this is where it's going to be crazy, because Iran has been saying for the last 2 days that if anything happens, Iran is going to attack US bases in Middle East. And if they do attack US bases in Middle East, that kind of pulls us into the war without us actually like declaring anything on Iran. If they are attacking us, we have to get involved. But here's the full Netanyahu speech. Again, we just heard a few minutes of it, so I want to listen to the full thing.
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion.
You guys hear this all right, right? Oh, wow, we have almost 3,300 people. Be sure to hit the like button. We're trying to get to 2,000 likes. So if you haven't hit the like button, please do so right now.
a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction. They've backed up their genocidal rhetoric with a program to develop nuclear weapons. In recent years, Iran has produced enough highly enriched uranium for 9 atom bombs. 9. In recent months, Iran has taken steps that it has never taken before, steps to weaponize this enriched uranium. And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months.
By the way, quick pause. We had the general in the chat just confirm. Iranian news outlets are now confirming that many nuclear facilities in Iran were struck. So I guess we can put more weight if Iran is confirming this.
Less than a year. This is a clear and present danger to Israel's very survival. 80 years ago, the Jewish people were the victims of a Holocaust perpetrated by the Nazi regime. Today, the Jewish state refuses to be a victim of a nuclear Holocaust perpetrated by the Iranian regime. Now, as Prime Minister, I've made it clear time and again, Israel will never allow those who call for our annihilation to develop the means to achieve that goal. Tonight, Israel backs those words with action. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear enrichment program. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear weaponization program. We targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz. We targeted Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb. We also struck at the heart of Iran's ballistic missile program. Last year, Iran fired 300 ballistic missiles at Israel. Each of these missiles carries a ton of explosives and threatens the lives of hundreds of people. Soon, those missiles could carry a nuclear payload, threatening the lives not of hundreds, but of millions.
Oh my God, I just have to pause real quick. Apparently, we're getting news that the round 2 is starting already. So Israel said this was going to be a multi-day operation. First round, they probably just attacked air defenses and went after the top military leadership. We actually have some footage of one of the nuclear facilities. Let me see if I can put it at the right. Okay, so I want to show you guys on the map. So this is the facility, Natanz. That's a nuclear facility that we had some reports about being attacked. Well, now we have footage from an Iranian. This is like a very pro-Iran. I'm pretty sure this is like a government-backed account on Twitter from Iran, and they have a footage saying that the Iranian TV is reporting 2 nuclear sites have been hit. And this is something we covered even from this report. The 2 nuclear sites at Natanz and Fort Dove. Hopefully I'm saying that correct. By the way, these are deep. I gotta find out how deep are the Iranian nuclear facilities, but they are not just like a building on the ground. They're deep underground. Oh, they're roughly 100 meters, so 330 feet deep underground. So very deep, because Iran knows they're going to attack. Israel has attacked Saddam's nuclear program, and Israel has also attacked Assad's nuclear program back in 2007. So Israel has done this before, and Iran knew. That's why they built them so deep. All right, we'll go back to what we were watching right here.
Iran is gearing up to produce 10,000 of those ballistic missiles within 3 years. Now just imagine 10,000 tons of TNT landing on a country the size of New Jersey. This is an intolerable threat. It too must be stopped. Iran is now working on what it calls the new plan to destroy Israel. You see, the old plan failed. Iran and its proxies tried to encircle Israel with a ring of fire and to attack us with the horrible attack of October 7th. But the people of Israel, the soldiers of Israel, rose like lions to defend our country. We crushed Hamas, we devastated Hezbollah, we hit Iranian proxies in Syria and Yemen. And when Iran directly attacked us twice last year, we struck back inside Iran itself. Yet in defending ourselves, we also defend others. We defend our Arab neighbors. They too have suffered from Iran's campaign of chaos and carnage. Our actions against Iran's proxy Hezbollah led to the establishment of a new government in Lebanon and the collapse of Assad's murderous regime in Syria. The peoples of those two countries now have a chance for a different future, a better future. So too do the brave people of Iran, and I have a message for them. Our fight is not with you. Our fight is with the brutal dictatorship that has oppressed you for 46 years. I believe that the day of your liberation is near. And when that happens, the great friendship between our two ancient peoples will flourish once again. I want to assure the civilized world, we will not let the world's most dangerous regime get the world's most dangerous weapons. And Iran plans to give those weapons, nuclear weapons, to its terrorist proxies. That would make the nightmare of nuclear terrorism all too real. The increasing range of Iran's ballistic missiles would bring that nuclear nightmare to the cities of Europe and eventually to America. Remember, Iran calls Israel the small Satan.
By the way, Rema, I think Iran is already retaliating, actually. We have footage from official Iranian accounts right here of the ballistic missiles flying. So, yeah, this is... And we also have some reports about a second round by Israel already starting. Initial reports of Israeli drone swarms entering Iraqi airspace and heading towards Iran. Now, again, drones probably not going to do much damage to... Iran has enough people to basically keep that going. Let me see if we can go back to the...
It calls America the great Satan. And this is why for decades, it's led millions in the chants of death to Israel and death to America.
So General just donated £2, if I'm correct. I'm bad with symbols. General has been helping us a lot in the chat with all the big news. I think he has a Telegram channel for all the info.
Today, Israel is responding to those genocidal calls with action and with a call of our own. Long live Israel and long live America. Our action will help make the world a much safer place. I want to thank President Trump for his leadership in confronting Iran's nuclear weapons program. He has made clear time and again that Iran cannot have a nuclear enrichment program. Today, it is clear that Iran is just buying for time. It refuses to agree to this basic requirement of peaceful nations. That is why we have no choice but to act, and act now. The hardest decision any leader has to make is to thwart a danger before it is fully materialized. Nearly a century ago, facing the Nazis, a generation of leaders failed to act in time. They were paralyzed by the horrors of World War I. They were determined to avoid war at all.
Oh, we're just watching the whole thing because when we watched it, it was just last few minutes.
Cost. And they got the worst war ever. They adopted a policy of appeasement. They closed their eyes and ears to all the warning signs. That failure to act resulted in World War II, the deadliest war in history. It claimed the lives of 60 million, including 6 million Jews, a third of my people. After that war, the Jewish people and the Jewish state vowed, never again. Well, never again is now. Today, Israel has shown that we have learned the lessons of history. When enemies vow to destroy you, believe them. When enemies build weapons of mass death, stop them. As the Bible teaches us, when someone comes to kill you, rise and act first. This is exactly what Israel has done today. We have risen like lions to defend ourselves.
Okay, yeah, we'll pause it. People are not enjoying this. But by the way, I know, like, it makes sense. We would not want Iran to have nuclear weapons, especially considering everything they have done already. They provide weapons to all the terrorist groups in the Middle East. Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, and Houthis attack U.S. ships, U.S. carriers all the time. So on top of that, Iran's foreign policy is death to America, death to Israel. We definitely wouldn't want a country like that have nuclear weapons.
Supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. Theoretically, if you were going after the Iranian regime and wanted to destroy the Iranian regime, there is no other figure than him. You know, the people in the United States are a lot more familiar with Vladimir Putin, right? Who's ever heard of any other figure in Russia's political system? Vladimir Putin is the figure. Similarly, in Iran, Ali Khamenei is the figure. So theoretically, Israel could have tried to assassinate him. No reports coming in that they did. So Israel is saying we're taking it up a notch or some significant notches when it comes to who we're attacking, but we're not actually breaking the entire bank yet. Again, indicating that Israel, on the one hand, wants things to escalate, but also wants them to escalate within a controlled measure. And the fact, again, that we have not heard Trump say anything yet. We have not heard...
By the way, we have Iranian media blaming United States already. Israeli missiles at Iran were launched from Iraqi airspace, which is controlled by the United States. So this is why we have the poll running. Now, US has publicly said, as we just, I think I just deleted that, but US has said it was not involved in it. It knew about it, but US did not help or be involved in any way in these strikes. It was all decided and carried out by Israel alone. And Iran has been threatening US bases in the Middle East for the last few days, probably longer. And that's why US probably made that statement. They don't want US soldiers to be at risk, be under attack. But Iran already blaming, or I guess pointing fingers at US for being involved.
So far, not hearing about another wave of attacks. So right now, the Middle East is surprisingly asleep. All the images that we're seeing are a repeated image from that first volley. And the Middle East right now sort of is in a fearful hush. What is going to happen? At this point, everyone's waiting to see the result of this attack. Were those figures assassinated? Again, we're still waiting.
And it will be the time once we are able to see it. And we've been referring to this video. Like you said, this was the attack that we have the video of. These looped images of what happened there in Tehran. I do have to tell you, Dr. Alon Burstein, we also just got this new video into our newsroom as well. This is the aftermath as the sun is now rising there in Tehran. I want to put it up on your screen so you can see there the damage that was left behind by some of these strikes, these preemptive strikes, as we've been calling them, targeted near those nuclear facilities as well. But as we're looking at this, Dr. Alon Burstein, you've been watching the Middle East for so many years. How is it expected to look at this point with this type of attack that was put out?
So I'm a little bit surprised at the nature of the attack so far. Again, first of all, the images that we're seeing are residential buildings. They are not images of Iran's nuclear facilities. So the initial volley appears to have not actually targeted most of Iran's nuclear sites. According to reports, there were explosions also in Natanz. Netanyahu also said that Israel attacked Natanz. So maybe we'll see images from there soon. Iran would be a lot more guarded on anyone taking video footage around that area. But the fact that residential buildings were attacked in this broader attempt of actually carrying out attacks against nuclear facilities, but actually attacking residential buildings, seemingly Israel wanted to start from those major assassinations at that point. Sorry, I'm being distracted because there's actually a report that's coming in right now that says that the Mossad, I'm hesitant to say this because again, it's unconfirmed, but it says that the Mossad may have carried out some assassinations on the ground in Iran alongside those attacks. So maybe, and very, very early reports that someone is saying that this is a military correspondent in Israel is putting out a tweet that is saying that possibly while these airstrikes were carried out, agents on the ground were activated to carry out assassinations. I'll report more about that if and when that comes in. At this point, that just distracted me. So I see.
Yeah, that would be shocking. By the way, other thing, we just have some reports from Iranian media. Again, a lot of misinformation going around because it is happening as we are streaming. But Iranian media is saying Iran has not launched any missiles yet. Probably going to launch it, but then again, it was the same account that says, "Oh, this was the Israeli missiles."